I'm Shannon Doyle, and I am the owner and principal broker here at Eugene Realty Group. And I wanted to create just a little short video explaining the home buying process. We get a lot of questions from folks just kind of wondering what the A to Z of the process is and all the pieces in between and the sequence of things. So I just thought I would just do a quick little video, just a few minutes, just to kind of give you a brief overview. It's not going to have all the ins and outs, but at least it should have the major highlights of the process. So basically, to get started, some folks choose to start with contacting a real estate agent, and some choose to start with contacting a lender. And it really doesn't matter either way that you choose to go. Some folks like to get the pre-approval process started and then kind of start home shopping and contacting a realtor at that point. And some folks start with a realtor, and then as realtors, we can always recommend a really great lender to you. And so, you have those options. So either way is great. And so then what happens is you definitely want to contact a realtor and a lender pretty much up front. Working with two great parties in those two different fields is really important in this market that we're in right now. Houses are selling really quickly, and unfortunately, if you're not pre-approved, you can go out and find your dream home, and if you don't have all your ducks in a row, you're not going to be able to make an offer, which you can't do until you've got a pre-approval letter in hand, unless, of course, you're paying cash, and that's, of course, different. But that's kind of where you start. So once you get through the pre-approval process, which the lender takes an application and they get some documentation from you, some tax stubs and W-2s and different things like that. So once you get all that put together, then we go out and start shopping for homes, and hopefully you find the one that's just absolutely perfect for you, and then you'll make an offer. And that's literally just some paperwork that we do. It's a contract that you put together. It's 11 pages here in Oregon, and it's not too complicated. It just spells out the price and the terms and closing date and things like that in the paperwork. And then sometimes you have to go back and forth and negotiate with the seller a little bit, and those are counter offers back and forth. And hopefully you get to the end where you guys have a meeting of the minds and agree on all the terms. Once that happens, then what happens is an escrow process is started. And escrow is really just the term for the process of going from an offer to actually closing at the very end when you get your keys. So escrow is handled by an escrow or title company, and they're a neutral third party. They do all the title research and help with lots of disclosures throughout the process. They work back and forth with the lender and with us, and then they take all the money in and they disperse all the money. But they're just a neutral third party kind of working in the background, and often you won't meet the escrow officer until the very end of the whole transaction. So what happens, the first step is we send all the paperwork over to them to get everything started, and then you'll have an earnest money deposit that's due right up front. A lot of times that's about 1% of the purchase price. It could be less, it could be more, it just depends on the circumstance and what you've negotiated with the seller. So that'll be a check that gets taken to the title company. They'll cash it, and then those funds are just held through the whole process until at the very end it's applied towards your down payment and your closing costs. So that starts the process. Then you'll go right into an inspection period, and this is where you'll have a home inspection. You can have all kinds of different inspections. You can have it tested for mold, asbestos, radon. You can have the roof inspected. If there's well and septic, you can have those things inspected. Usually it's a home inspection and a pest and dry rot inspection. So you get through that inspection period, and then once you get the reports from those inspections, then you have an opportunity to negotiate with the seller and possibly have them do some of the repairs, or maybe give you a credit towards those that would be applied to your cost at the end. So it really depends. Every situation's a little bit different, and your real estate agent will guide you through that whole process. I like to explain to folks that there are essentially 3 negotiation points in every escrow. The first one is right up front as you're negotiating the price and terms with the seller. The second one is this inspection period. And then the third one is, in the meantime, while all these things are going on, you'll be working closely with your lender, turning in lots of paperwork and everything as they're kind of gathering everything they need for your file. And they will order an appraisal on the property. And that's a licensed appraiser in the state of Oregon, who is, again, a neutral party, just a third party. and they come in and they take some pictures of the home. They kind of evaluate the condition of the home, measure the square footage. They pull some research on comparable sales in the neighborhood, in the area, and then they create an appraisal report, and that is turned into the lender, and it's just to ensure that the price you're in contract for the property, actually it's worth that amount of money. So this is just an independent evaluation of the value, basically. If that comes in too low, you'll be in your third negotiation point with the seller. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it all goes great and it comes in at the value or possibly more, which means you've already got some equity built into the property. But if it comes in low, you may have to negotiate with the seller to come to terms on that somehow. So those are your 3 negotiation points. Once you're complete with that, what happens is you go through an underwriting process with the lender. And this is basically just an audit of all the paperwork they've been gathering all the way through the process. Once you come out of that audit or underwriting, you'll have your full loan approval, and that means that they've approved you as a borrower and approved the property as something that they would be willing to loan on. Then you move towards the closing process where you're working on getting your keys. In the meantime, the title company has been pulling up all kinds of title research. You're going to get some disclosures, possibly some CC&Rs if there's an HOA or some attached to the property. You'll get a property report telling you all about the ownership and chain of title on the property. So you'll want to look at all that disclosure paperwork in the meantime as everything's going. Now comes the point, the lender will draft all the documents once you have your full loan approval, and they'll draft all the documents that you're going to be signing, and there's a stack of paper about this big. You'll go down to the title company and you'll meet your escrow officer. You're going to sign all this paperwork, which takes about an hour. And then that goes back to the lender. They'll do a final credit check and a couple of other things, and then they send over their part of the money for the property, and then you're going to bring in your funds. The seller will sign at a separate time, so they're all wrapped up over there. So once everybody's signed and all the money is in, it gets sent to the title company. Then they actually record down at the county. They record the deed on the property, and that's when ownership changes hands, and that's when you get your keys, and it's actually called closing. You've actually recorded and closed on the property, and it's now yours. So that's, I hope, helpful. I just wanted to do a quick little run through. Obviously, there's a lot of other pieces that are going on and a lot more depth to everything, but that's just a quick overview of the process kind of from start to finish. So I hope that was helpful, and thanks so much.